when Cindy Schaefer-Smith mentioned this to everybody about the Christmas baskets especially, I just kind of cracked up because my story about that is funny, and it's not a whole lot of memories of the family itself. But and the other two gals that were with me at the time either weren't willing to do it or don't have enough memory to share it.
Well,
I'm not.
Well, tell me a little bit about your story about Christmas baskets.
Well, like I said, I don't remember a whole lot about the actual Christmas baskets. I remember doing them senior year. I don't know if we did them earlier, but I know every senior classroom anyway, was assigned a family. And I remember we literally had a big basket up on the shelf in front of the windows in our home room, and we were told specifics of the family, like the number of kids and how old they were, and the needs of the family. I don't remember any of those specifics now, but I remember we filled the baskets from Thanksgiving until Christmas break, and our basket filled up pretty good. So we had like 2 or 3 more boxes that we also filled up, and maybe because I drove a station wagon, but I was chosen to go with Sister Fabiola, and that is a group memory name because it took us a while to come up with what was her name. But there were 3 or 4 other girls that came. Like I said, Annie Lacona was one. I thought Kathy Mahoney was, but and I can't remember who the third was. I thought it was Sheila, and she has no recollection of this whatsoever, so maybe not her. But the house was clear out on the east side. And they had 4 or 5 kids, I think, but just the mom and maybe a couple kids were home. And so we delivered the basket like right after school and stayed for about an hour visiting with mom and talking and playing with the kids. And, they were really thankful. We felt really good. We kind of talked about it a little bit as we were leaving. But as we walked out of the house, we discovered that the first snow had started of the season, and there were already 2 to 3 inches of snow on the ground, and it was snowing like crazy. And, I'm a senior. I haven't been driving that long. So I'm driving home on the freeway, and that big curve on the east side of the freeway, maybe around East 6th or so, the car in front of me braked, and I touched my brakes on the bridge. And the car went into a spin, and it spun 2 or 3 times and hit one side of the bridge, and then spun 3 or 4 times and hit the other side of the bridge. And I ended up backwards on the freeway, and Sister Fabiola is sitting in the front seat, pounding on her chest, going, "Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, save us. Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, help us." And I thought, oh my gosh, she's going to have a heart attack right here in the car. And I'm like, "Sister, are you okay?" And she goes, "Thanks be to God. Yes, I am. Yes, I am." And I'm like, oh my gosh. So then I turned around and to look at the 3 girls in the back, like, "Are you guys okay?" And they are all laughing hysterically, like in tears, laughing. And I'm thinking, what is so funny about this? So I had to drive backwards to the nearest exit and get off in a gas station. They said like I had a broken axle or something, although I was still able to drive the car, but I couldn't really turn it. I couldn't make like a left turn. So somehow I got over to Grand, and I just drove all the way down Grand, and I dropped the sister off and whoever had a car at the academy, and I drove a little farther to like around 40th or so in Grand and dropped somebody off that lives south of Grand and drove on home till I got up to West Des Moines in my house. So, yeah. So I remember the accident and that all happening more than I actually remember the Christmas basket, unfortunately. So,
well, what a great story. How were your parents when you got home?
They were pretty cool about it. Mom was a little worried because it took a long time to get home. And by the time I got home, there were 5 or 6 inches of snow down. Wow. So she was really worried about us. But, and it was before cell phones. So it took you forever to get home. I'm like, I can't turn. So, but, they were okay. They were okay with it. I don't think Dad was home yet. So I don't think he was real happy about having to fix the car. But
you were safe.
Glad that we were all okay.
Yeah. Well, good for you. Good for you. That was your senior year. That was the last year of the academy. Is that right?
Yep. Yes, it was. Yep.
I've read places that some people referred, or that the class itself referred to themselves as the lost class, or the forgotten class because does that sound familiar?
Yep, it does. I think we kind of felt like lost souls. Everyone else, the younger students and all the teachers were, of course, super excited to be moving to this brand new school, and it wasn't a part of our lives at all. It wasn't going to be, so we kind of felt forgotten. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Was it a close-knit class?
I think it was, yes. One of the things that I was one of the 7 or so nominated for homecoming queen, and I didn't really have a speech prepared. The thing that I remember that because I would never allow myself again to ever be in that position, where I don't know what I'm going to say. But one of the things that really struck me was how, with our class, we just all got together and made posters for each other. It wasn't one girl versus another or anything. And I think that kind of epitomizes the class. We just did a lot of things together. And I think we were maybe closer because it was the last class, or if that was just us to begin with. I'm not really sure. One of the girls, I'm in a messenger group with, it started out about maybe 7 or 8, and it's grown after our 50th class reunion this last summer. There's now about 40 girls that are on it, but messenger group. And one of the gals was our class secretary, and she said she had spent a lot of time and energy putting together a notebook full of the traditions of St. Joseph Academy. And I'd love to see that book again and see have it trigger some memories of, oh my gosh, I don't remember that, but yeah, now I do, now that I see that. So,
wow. And
I do think we were a close class.
Does anybody know what happened to that book?
She said that she had, as soon as the new Dowling opened, like within the first couple weeks of school opening, she brought it in and left it with the secretary at the new Dowling. And that's the last anyone's ever seen or heard of it that I know of.
Yeah.
So, somewhere in the archives of Dowling now, I suppose.
It's probably there. Yeah, great. Yeah. Did the boys of the class of 72 at Dowling feel the same way, or did the name carry on and they didn't feel quite as lost as you guys? Or do you know?
Well, I still have a lot of guy friends from Dowling. My husband and I started dating the end of our junior year, and so we've been together a long time. I know his friends. So, and I don't know that they felt that so much, or maybe that they cared as much.
Right. You've seen the 2 yearbooks from that year, haven't you?
Oh yeah.
One with the butterfly coming out of its cocoon, and the other with the mushroom cloud over campus. Yep.
Metamorphosis, and blow it up. Yes.
Isn't that something?
It is.
What teacher do you fondly remember?
Oh my gosh, Sister Jean Byrne, hands down. She was by far my favorite teacher. She taught social studies, and she had really high expectations for the kids in her class, and she made that quite clear. History is not my thing. Names and dates do not stay in my brain at all. But I learned so much from her, not so much about history as much as just how to learn. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I think maybe sophomore year I had her for either U.S. or world history, and I liked her so much that I took the electives that she taught, so communism and Eastern Civ and Western civilization, because she was the teacher. And this was in the late 60s, early 70s. She had us move our desks against the wall and sit in a circle. No one had ever done that before. Or we were in groups of put us in groups of 4 with our desks together so that we could collaborate more and have more meaningful discussions. And I just, that really made an impression. As she would ask a question, and then she had this habit, she'd raise one eyebrow up into this V, and she'd look at you. And that meant it was your turn to answer, and it better be a good answer kind of thing. And I found out through the Facebook Messenger thing, she pulled 3 students senior year, pulled them out of class, and did she taught history, but she did an advanced biology with them, these 3 students, and assigned them 2 big research papers for them to do. And I don't know about 2 of the gals, what they ended up doing, but I know one, went on to be a nurse and works a lot with different hospitals, setting up different programs and stuff, and attributes a lot of that to Sister Jane Byrne.
Isn't that great?
We all agreed that she was definitely a teacher who made an impact on our lives.
Yeah. Well, great. That's great. You've got great stories. I really appreciate it. It's I'm going back to my high school this weekend to give a talk on my school 50 years ago, and I just enjoy hearing stories like yours, and I hope I tell stories as well this weekend.
Well, I tell you, it's not. Those aren't stories of mine necessarily. One thing I have really found through this messenger group, but especially at our class reunion, is our memories are collective.
Mm-hmm.
And I might not remember something, but somebody would say, "Oh, remember Shido and the squirt gun?" And I'm like, "What?" "Yeah, remember Shido and the squirt gun?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" "Yeah, she brought a squirt gun to class." And it's like, "Oh my gosh, I do remember that." She brought a squirt gun to class, and she's sitting in the back of the room, and every so once in a while she'd squirt it, and it would like rain down kind of on the teacher, who's looking at the ceiling like, where's it coming from? The ceiling's leaking. I'm gonna have to call the custodian, and we were on the ground floor. But I didn't remember that until somebody else brought it up. And lots of cases like that, especially at the reunion of, "Oh, I remember this," and I'm thinking, I don't think I was there, but I was. So it was fun to remember those things. Or someone said, "Remember skipping school?" And I said, "Not me. I never skipped school except senior skip day." And they were like, "You were with us." And I'm like, "I never skipped." And they said, "Yeah, we skipped study hall and we went downtown." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, we did. I do remember that. We went downtown to the noon mass at the cathedral." And I had never been to the cathedral in Des Moines before.
Oh.
And that was my first time. We skipped class to go to mass. And then when we got back, one by one, we were called into the office. And I'm sure they didn't believe any of us until they called Monsignor. He goes, "Yeah, there were 7 or 8 academy girls sitting right up there in the front row of church." But I didn't remember that until one of the collective memory, somebody else remembered it for sure, and then they triggered that in my thoughts. So that was fun.
That's so great. That's so great. Well, and you and your husband started dating. Was he at Dowling and you were at St. Joe's?
Yes.
And
Yep.
And when you graduated, where did you both go?
He started work right away at Iowa Dental in Des Moines, and I went to Iowa State.
I gotcha. And how soon did you get married?
6 years later. He was kind of scared.